Tonight, we are standing at the precipice of a historical transformation that is set to redefine the very fabric of Philippine basketball forever. For decades, the dream for every young kid dribbling a worn-out ball on the concrete courts of Manila, Cebu, or Davao was simple yet singular: dominate the local collegiate scene and eventually find a home in the professional ranks of the PBA. But tonight, that dream has not just expanded, it has been completely dismantled and rebuilt on a global scale. We are witnessing a seismic shift in the trajectory of Filipino sporting talent as the news breaks that three of our most iconic basketball exports, the towering Kai Sotto, the versatile Dwight Ramos, and the relentless Thirdy Ravena, are now collectively bound for the elite leagues of Europe. This isn't just another transfer update. This is a continental leap. This is the ultimate validation of the Filipino brand of basketball on the world stage. We have seen our players conquer the ASEAN region, we have seen them take the Japanese B-League by storm, and we have seen them hold their own in the Australian NBL. But Europe is a different beast entirely. We're talking about the home of the EuroLeague, the Liga ACB in Spain, and the high tactical systems that have produced some of the greatest NBA superstars in history, from Luka Doncic to Nikola Jokic. The fact that three of our best are now being targeted by, and moving toward, these prestigious organizations signals that the world no longer views the Filipino player as a mere novelty or a marketing tool to capture a basketball-mad demographic. No, they are being seen as legitimate, high-level tactical assets capable of competing in the most disciplined and physically demanding leagues on the planet. Kai Sotto, the 7'3" center who has carried the weight of a nation's NBA dreams since he was 15, is finally looking to test his mettle in a region that prides itself on developing skilled big men. For Kai, this isn't just a career move, it is a quest for the missing piece of his development, the European fundamentals that could finally unlock his path to the association. Then you have Dwight Ramos, Saint Dwight, as the fans call him, whose poise and multi-positional brilliance have made him the most consistent performer for Gilas Pilipinas over the last 4 years. His game, characterized by high basketball IQ and defensive grit, seems almost tailor-made for the European style of play where every possession is a chess match. And of course, the trailblazer himself, Thirdy Ravena. The man who first broke the mold by heading to Japan and proving that the Filipino athlete can be a franchise cornerstone abroad. Thirdy's move to Europe represents the ultimate graduation, a sign that he has nothing left to prove in Asia and is ready to take his explosive athleticism to a theater where the competition is faster, stronger, and more unforgiving. As we dive into this special presentation, we aren't just looking at highlights and stats. We are analyzing the geopolitical landscape of basketball. We are looking at how these moves will fundamentally change the composition of our national team. How does a player trained in the fires of the Spanish ACB or the German Bundesliga differ from one who stays within the comforts of home? We are exploring the contracts, the cultural adjustments, and the sheer bravery it takes to walk away from being a superstar in a country that worships you, only to become a prospect in a land where you must prove your worth from scratch. This is the story of the three Pinoys who are no longer just international prospects. They are proven international stars bound for the pinnacle of European basketball. Stay with us as we break down every angle of this massive development, from the scouting reports that caught the eyes of European scouts to the long-term implications for the future of the Gilas program. This is a deep dive into the next chapter of Philippine basketball history. To truly understand why the move of Kai Sotto, Dwight Ramos, and Thirdy Ravena to Europe is such a monumental occasion, we have to first look back at the history of the Filipino basketball odyssey. For the longest time, the Philippine basketball ecosystem was relatively insular. We had our own style, puso, or heart, characterized by speed, flashy dribbling, and a never-say-die attitude. But for a long time, that style was often criticized by international scouts as being too streetball-oriented, lacking the structure and the size to compete at the highest echelons of FIBA or the NBA. That narrative began to change about 5 years ago, and these three players were at the very heart of that change. Let's start with Kai Sotto, because his journey is perhaps the most scrutinized in the history of Philippine sports. When Kai left the Philippines as a teenager to join the Skill Factory in Atlanta, the expectations were astronomical. We weren't just hoping for an NBA player, we were demanding one. But the path wasn't linear. From the G-League Ignite situation that didn't materialize, to his 2 years with the Adelaide 36ers in the Australian NBL, and most recently his dominant stretches in the Japanese B-League, Kai has been a nomad seeking the right soil to plant his roots. The move to Europe for Kai Sotto is a masterstroke of career management. Think about the archetypal European big man, players like Pau Gasol, Kristaps Porzingis, or Victor Wembanyama. What do they have in common? It's not just height. It's the ability to pass, the ability to shoot from the perimeter, and a deep understanding of defensive positioning that doesn't rely solely on verticality. In the NBL, Kai learned physicality. In Japan, he learned how to be a primary scoring option. But in Europe, Kai will be forced to learn the European way, the intricacies of the pick and roll, the timing of the help side defense, and the discipline of a 24-second clock that feels much shorter because of the lack of transition opportunities. If Kai lands in a league like the Spanish Liga Endesa, which is widely considered the second-best league in the world after the NBA, he will be facing centers who are just as tall but perhaps more battle-hardened in tactical warfare. This is the final finishing school for Kai Sotto. If he can thrive in Europe, the NBA scouts who once doubted his lateral quickness or his motor will have no choice but to take notice. The European game values his greatest assets, his soft shooting touch and his elite rim protection. For a player of his stature, the wider lanes and the emphasis on ball movement in Europe are a match made in heaven. We are talking about a Kai Sotto who could return to the national team not just as a shot blocker, but as a point center who can facilitate the offense from a high post. Now, let's pivot to Dwight Ramos. If Kai is the dream, Dwight is the standard. Since he debuted for Gilas, Dwight has been the steady hand. He doesn't get rattled, he doesn't take bad shots, and he defends the opposing team's best player every single night. In the Japanese B-League with Levenga Hokkaido, Dwight has been a model of consistency, but there has always been a feeling that he was playing within himself, that he had another gear that the league couldn't quite extract. Dwight's game is incredibly plug-and-play. You can put him on any roster in the world, and he will find a way to contribute without needing 20 shots a game. This is exactly what European scouts look for in an import guard or wing. In Europe, they don't necessarily want a high-volume scorer who dominates the ball for 18 seconds. They want a two-way player who can switch on defense, hit the open three at a 40% clip, and make the extra pass. Dwight Ramos is the embodiment of that. By moving to Europe, Dwight is challenging himself to compete against some of the most physical and intelligent guards in the world. Imagine Dwight Ramos being guarded by a veteran EuroLeague defender who has 10 years of experience in the Greek or Turkish leagues. That experience is going to sharpen his decision-making to a razor's edge. For Gilas, this is huge. Having a lead guard who is used to the pressure and the tactical complexity of European basketball means we will have a floor general who can navigate the most sophisticated defensive traps that top-tier nations like France or Serbia can throw at us. And then we come to Thirdy Ravena. We cannot talk about the internationalization of Philippine basketball without paying homage to the man who started it all. When Thirdy signed with the San Neo Phoenix in 2020, he took a massive risk. He could have stayed in the Philippines, been the #1 pick in the PBA draft, and signed lucrative endorsement deals as the King of Manila. Instead, he chose to go to a struggling team in a foreign land where he didn't speak the language. He proved that the Pinoy pride isn't just a hashtag, it's a work ethic. Thirdy's potential move to Europe is the ultimate, "I told you so," to the critics who thought he would just be a regional star. Thirdy brings something to the table that is often rare in Europe. Raw, explosive, downhill athleticism combined with a frame that can absorb contact. While European basketball is known for its shooting and passing, there is an increasing demand for slashing wings who can break down a defense when the system stalls. Thirdy is a one-man fast break. If he can refine his outside shooting to match the European standard, he becomes a dangerous weapon. His journey to Europe is a message to every young Filipino player. Don't settle for being the best in your neighborhood. Don't even settle for being the best in Asia. The world is yours if you are willing to work for it. But let's look at the broader implications. Why does this matter for the fans at home? It matters because for the first time, the big three of the new generation are all converging on the same continent, chasing the same level of excellence. This creates a synergy. When they meet up for national team duties, they won't just be bringing back highlights. They will be bringing back a professional culture. They will be bringing back the Eurostep, the Spanish pick and roll, and a level of conditioning that is required to survive a grueling 10-month European season. Furthermore, we have to consider the economic and structural impact on Philippine basketball. The success of Kai, Dwight, and Thirdy in Europe will open the doors for the next wave. We are already seeing names like A.J. Edu, Carl Tamayo, and Kevin Kiambao being monitored by international scouts. If the European three succeed, Europe becomes a viable career path for the Filipino athlete. This creates a healthy competition with our local leagues to improve their own standards, their own coaching, and their own player development programs. There are challenges, of course. Europe is a cold, lonely place for a basketball player far from home. The language barriers are steeper than in Japan or Australia. The fans are notoriously intense. Think of the atmospheres in Belgrade or Athens. Our boys will be called imports, and in Europe, that label comes with an immense pressure to produce results immediately. There is no grace period. If you don't perform, you are replaced. But if there is one thing we know about the Filipino spirit, it's that we thrive under pressure. We are a resilient people, and these three athletes are the tip of the spear. As we analyze the scouting reports, we see that European teams are specifically looking at Kai's improved lateral quickness. They are looking at Dwight's efficiency ratings. They are looking at Thirdy's defensive win shares. These are not just casual observations. These are data-driven decisions by some of the smartest front offices in basketball. The fact that the Pinoy trio has passed the eye test for European scouts is a testament to how far our training has come. We must also acknowledge the role of the agents and the management teams who have navigated these complex negotiations. Moving a player to Europe involves FIBA clearances, work permits, and intricate buyout clauses. The professionalism behind the scenes is matching the professionalism on the court. We are no longer seeing mom-and-pop management. We are seeing global sports agencies treating Filipino players like the world-class commodities they are. In the coming months, we will likely see these players donning the jerseys of historic clubs. We might see Kai Sotto playing in the Euro Cup. We might see Dwight Ramos orchestrating an offense in the Italian Liga Basket Serie A. We might see Thirdy Ravena flying through the air in the French LNB Pro A. Each bucket they score, each rebound they grab, and each game they win will be a victory for every Filipino who has ever been told that we are too small or too unrefined for the world stage. This is the golden age, but it's also a testing age. Europe will strip away the hype. It will ignore the millions of social media followers. It will only care about what you can do on the hardwood for 40 minutes. And that is exactly what Kai, Dwight, and Thirdy want. They want to be judged as basketball players, not as icons. They are ready to trade the comfort of being big fish in a small pond for the chance to be sharks in the ocean. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but for Kai Sotto, Dwight Ramos, and Thirdy Ravena, that journey has already spanned oceans, cultures, and leagues. As they prepare to embark on this European adventure, they carry more than just their sneakers and jerseys in their bags. They carry the aspirations of a basketball-obsessed nation that has waited decades to see its sons compete at the absolute highest level of the international game. This transition to Europe isn't just about personal glory or bigger paychecks. It's about representation. It's about showing the world that the Filipino basketball player is sophisticated, disciplined, and elite. When we look back at this moment years from now, we might very well see it as the turning point. The moment the Philippines officially became a global exporter of top-tier basketball talent. To Kai, Dwight, and Thirdy, the road ahead will be difficult. There will be nights when the shots don't fall, nights when the physical toll of the European season feels like too much, and nights when the distance from home feels like an unbridgeable chasm. But remember that every time you step onto that court, whether it's in Madrid, Berlin, or Paris, you have millions of voices cheering for you from across the sea. You are the pioneers. You are the proof that there are no boundaries to what we can achieve. For the fans, this is our time to show our support in a new way. Let's follow their games, let's learn about the history of these European clubs, and let's appreciate the level of basketball our boys are now part of. The competition is going to be fierce, and the learning curve will be steep, but that is the price of greatness. We have moved past the era of just being happy to be there. We are now in the era of belonging. As we close this deep dive, keep an eye on the official announcements from the teams. The details of the contracts and the specific destinations will soon be set in stone, but the impact is already felt. The Pinoy trio is bound for Europe, and the world of basketball will never be the same. Thank you for joining us for this extensive breakdown. Make sure to stay tuned as we continue to track every move, every stat, and every milestone of our players abroad. The flag is flying high on the European continent, and the best is yet to come. This is more than just a game, it's a movement. And we are all witnesses to history in the making. Until next time, keep the passion for the game alive, and keep supporting our very own as they conquer the world. This has been your deep dive into the international journey of the Philippine basketball elite. Good night, and let's go Gilas!